Preface my remarks by one statement. Never in the history of this country, never in the history of this country, has agriculture done as well as it has today. Never. Farm income, net farm income, is at its highest level ever in the history of the United States. Okay? People, great trading partners like Mexico and Canada make it possible. Great trading partners and people who actually help initiate policies. The federal government, Secretary Vilsack, who's been so instrumental to President Obama, and a governor that we are so blessed to have in this state, who has, since early on, recognized the importance of Colorado's agriculture to this economy. Let me just give you a couple of stats here. 76% of Colorado's landmass is used for farming and ranching. Agriculture contributes $41 billion and 173,000 direct jobs to the Colorado State's economy. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has been instrumental in helping us increase and have trade access to different segments across the international community. They have completed negotiations or are working on negotiations for increasing access to Colorado's beef to Japan for animals over 20 months old.
I've had the chance of sharing the stage with the governor and the secretary before. We did another event similar to this about a year and a half ago. And what I represent at the Export-Import Bank is the President's effort, the National Export Initiative, saying we need to double exports in 5 years. At its heart, it's very simple. We need as a country, and the rural parts of our country are important to this, are essential to this, and farming communities, we need to produce more, consume less. Very simple. Produce more, consume less. At a national level, we're now exporting over $2.1 trillion. We have never exported this many goods and services ever in the history of the United States. We're at an all-time record, and it's not enough. What we do at the Export-Import Bank, we were founded by FDR in 1934, and I'm going to use my favorite quote of his, which is to be brief, be sincere, and be seated, so I'm going to talk quickly. What we do is we provide financing for exports when it can be found in the private sector. When somehow the private sector isn't able to make that leap and provide the loans or insurance to make that export. And importantly, we do this at no cost to the taxpayer.
And Congressman Chieftain, thank you so much for being here, also for your service. You've been a strong voice for agriculture. And you heard from John Salazar that those voices together are working in a way that we are leading the entire country out of the recession. And, when you look at Colorado's agricultural exports in those 2 years, up 75%, that's kind of growth we've never seen before. And it's not just the raw bulk materials. We're more and more taking agricultural products and processing them in some way that adds value, which again enhances your ability to export. What I love about today is we have two of the smartest people that I've ever worked with, in not just in Washington, but anywhere. And Fred Hochberg, who you just heard from the Export-Import Bank, and what they're doing to take on the challenge in 2009, say, all right, we're going to double exports in 5 years, right? That's going to be our mission. It's never been done before. The first 2 full years was up something like 38%, just about on pace. And Secretary Vilsack, this is not, when I get there, I'll do the introduction. You don't have to get up for Vilsack, because I'll do that myself. He has worked so hard, not just with Colorado, but all over the country, to look at what are the different ways to think about rural economics, right? What's it like to be out in the smaller towns around the country? Because for the history of this country, that has been our backbone. And I remember the first time I was in Pueblo, went into the Pueblo Chieftain, and Bob Rollins sat me down and gave me a very brief lecture. Well, compared to some of his other lectures he's given. But as the publisher kind of laid out exactly where he saw the rural economy in Colorado, where it was and where it needed to be. And I took that to heart, right? And the innovations that we've seen in our rural areas, and it's not just in technology, but it's in the development of new machinery to harvest more efficiently. It's using GPS in terms of how you plant and harvest your crops. It's planting techniques. So you don't plow. You are able to dryland farmers can plant and save 10 or 15% of the water from a crop. And how do you use at every level less water? Colorado needs that effort, and Secretary Vilsack's gone a long way of taking other ideas from other states and making sure we have access to them and pushing them. And our job is to push them out throughout Colorado. And I think, as you saw, Rusty Collins, the CSU Extension Office has been such an incredible partner. And the Extension Office is, one of the most powerful tools we have in the state of Colorado. And most of the agricultural states have a similar relationship where they're able to push out ideas and innovations so that they get implemented more rapidly. A couple weeks ago, we had Pueblo Plains up, and we started off in Yuma. 1,000 people from the urban areas out seeing where their food came from, experiencing it. We're going to do it down in southeast Colorado next year. We haven't figured out the route yet, but it's going to be bigger and better. We went from Yuma over to Ray, then down to Burlington, and kind of back and over and up. And every single word I heard from everybody from suburban Denver, suburban Colorado Springs was, I had no idea. What a beautiful place, what remarkable people, and my God, what a strong economy, right? And how much we should have a stronger relationship with these communities. And I think you look at organizations like Leprino Foods, again, we're not just creating the milk, but we're processing it. They supply, I think, 2/3 of all the mozzarella used on all the pizzas in the entire United States, right? Coming out of a headquarters in Colorado. And obviously this week in Denver is the Great American Beer Festival. In case you weren't paying attention, I have an obligation to point this out. We're up over 160 breweries in Colorado right now.
Suggested and challenged us to look at economic development within rural areas differently. And so we've come up with essentially 4 cornerstones of this new pathway. And I will tell you, there's probably no state that has taken better advantage of these pathways than the state of Colorado. First and foremost, focusing on conservation and its linkage to outdoor recreation. 38% of all of Americans participate in hunting and fishing and wildlife activities. 38%, so that's over 100 million Americans. Every year they spend $145 billion on those activities. And so we obviously want to encourage more of that, but we also see that outdoor recreation and the tourism connected to it as an export opportunity. And as Fred would suggest and indicate to you, every time we bring a visitor in from another country to participate in our hunting and fishing opportunities or biking or hiking opportunities or just appreciating the extraordinary landscape here, it is actually an export. So the Department of Commerce, working with the Department of Interior, I always say when I'm with Commissioner Salazar that I'm with the better looking and smarter Salazar. Of course, I have to say that I'm in Washington, I say that Ken is the better looking. But Secretary Salazar and Commissioner Salazar have been working very hard to encourage more people to come to Colorado, not just from the United States, but from all over the world. And that is an export opportunity that we need to take full advantage of. And as the state is looking at strategies for increasing economic activity, $145 billion, that's a lot of economic activity associated with hunting and fishing, and you all have tremendous opportunities here. And you've got Salazar brothers who understand and appreciate this. So conservation, outdoor recreation is one cornerstone. The local and regional food system that was discussed earlier, it is a fast-growing, expanding aspect of agriculture, particularly for smaller operations, and the notion that you can directly connect to the consumer. You have direct-to-consumer marketing. It's now a multiple billion-dollar part of agriculture. It's in the total scheme of things a relatively small part, roughly 4 to 5% of agriculture, but it does represent one of the fastest growing opportunities. And it's also a chance for young people in particular who aren't in a position to buy a ranch or buy a large farm, but would like to get into agriculture. A lot of these are returning veterans, I might add, Governor, and I know that you have a focus on helping them. A lot of these returning veterans want to get involved, and this is one way that they can do it. Local and regional food systems basically allow through the USDA program called Know Your Farmer. We have an effort to try to promote and assist in farmers' markets developments or continue to support agricultural opportunities. The third aspect of this is the bio-based economy, the notion that you can take virtually whatever you grow and raise and use it to create a wide variety of things beyond food and fuel and feed. Chemicals, plastics, polymers, fabrics, fibers, all of it can be bio-based and plant-based. I was in Detroit not too long ago where every Detroit vehicle, every Ford Motor Company vehicle that's produced in Detroit has as its basic for its seats, soy-based seats. They are dealing with the development of a technology that will eventually use soybeans to produce tires. In Madison, Wisconsin, we're looking at using wood fibers to replace fiberglass. So it is a stronger, lighter material that could potentially be used for auto bodies that would obviously allow those cars to be more fuel efficient. So there's just unlimited potential here. So that's the third cornerstone. And then the fourth cornerstone is production agriculture and its capacity not just to feed our country, but to feed the world through export opportunities. And I'd like to visit with you for just a few minutes about what we're doing to promote exports. USDA